why is long form video content exciting right now? Why is it interesting?
Sure. So I'll just start by apologising to your audience that I sound like I've got a face full of candy. I've just had some surgery, so that's why. And if you ever heard me elsewhere and this sounds a bit odd, that's just a bit why. So long form video content, why is it interesting? So I think the exciting thing and the reason why the trend is moving from short form to long form, in my view, is largely driven by kind of the desire for companies to build brands. Now, historically, the way we've done that is always been, driven by advertising and short form stuff. But in a world where we have, a million ads coming at us all the time, skippable video and everything, the truth remains, like, the majority of ads that you interact with, you probably don't remember, you probably don't care about. That didn't used to be the case, but this rule of 7 idea that, you just need to keep building impressions and somehow people remember you, that kind of idea is broken now. So we have to have found a new way to kind of engage people and build up that kind of brand efficacy and get people to start talking and communicating about brands. And one of the most clear and obvious ways you can do that is through long form content that engages perhaps a smaller group of audience than some of your traditional ads, but really engages them in a very direct and meaningful way, such that they become brand advocates and start to talk about you. So there's a lot of companies that have kind of gone down this route, and I think the same trend is seen with podcasting. It's exactly the same kind of idea. Well, okay, let's build up this long form content that goes into certain ideas or topics or whatever in a great deal of depth, appeals to a relatively narrow audience compared to some of our other marketing. But the aim is to really build a huge audience of advocates and fans, really, with the content. And what we're finding is that people who do that are seeing that their brand grows organically, that they improve word of mouth, they have that kind of rock solid base of fans, of audiences who are going to start talking about them and promoting them to other people. So that's how I think it's happening and why this trend is starting to pick up in a meaningful way.
Talk to me a bit about brands that are doing this really well right now.
Sure. So I think it's kind of started off slightly in the B2B space. So we see companies like MailChimp have gone down this route. Who else have done it? Someone like Drift have been spending a lot of time with this. So some of the B2B SaaS stuff have started. Certainly Wistia, obviously that's kind of the space we're in as well. But that's not wholly true. There's been a lot of companies that have built sort of web series on YouTube. Uber did some of this stuff. And, there's just been that kind of trend towards longer form. Can we create a sort of bigger piece of content that is maybe dealing with something in a bit more depth than an ad would? And that seems to be the trend. And we're seeing a lot of companies do this. On the SMB side, there's a company just down the road from me in London called like Andertons, which is just a guitar shop. And they've started making like really long form, like every week they release 2 or 3 50-minute videos, and they've built an entire brand off the base of this long-form web series, essentially. And that's exactly the kind of trend that we're seeing mirrored across B2B and B2C.
Why do you think long-form works better for that than short-form?
I think it's because it's about investment from the audience perspective. So, every day I go on the internet and I'm deluged with hundreds of ads. I remember very few of them, if any. And because it's a very one-sided investment, they are spending money and time to try and get in front of me. I am reluctant and trying to get away from them. So I'm basically always skipping the ads or moving. So there's no mental cognitive investment from my side. But if I'm going to sit down and watch something for 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it might be, I'm investing my time and my energy in that. So there's a bit of kind of cost in terms of my creation. And that relationship is built through that kind of reciprocal investment of time and energy. And so it's really about that kind of relationship that's built through someone deciding to spend time with you. And the only way they can decide to spend time with you is when you have, a long form content really, or a product or a service that allows them to kind of engage and invest their time. So if you're providing value for an audience, that means they are able to spend time with you and get that reciprocal value back, then that's when you're really building up that brand affinity, that loyalty that's going to stand you in good stead for the long term.